Welcome to the Mother's Day edition of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. Our guest today is Pradnya Haldipur, a mom, philanthropic strategist, and executive director at Magic Bus USA. Our host, of course, is Sree Srinivasan, who has hosted the New York Times Read Along for 5 years. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please share. Please let us know where you're watching from. And we will begin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Neil Parekh, and I am the executive producer of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along, occasionally guest host. As you can see, Sree is showing us the view outside a window on the Upper West Side in New York City. It's similar to his view, but not exactly the same as what we're used to seeing. Sree, do you want to tell us where you're live streaming from this morning?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Tell us where you're watching from. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Sunday. Tell us how your Sunday's going. We are in my same building, but the angle's a little bit different. We're about 200, 300 feet further east. And that's why you've got a view of the city here that's different. You can see in the distance the East River all the way out there. And you're seeing Central Park a lot more easily right there, Central Park. And there you see New York City's Grand Skyline, Manhattan's Grand Skyline. You can see things like the Citicorp building and those brand new, very tall buildings. And in the distance, you can see the new World Trade Center. And over here is the Hudson River and parts of New Jersey. We are in the Upper West Side. And just look at how different New York is today, folks. Sundays are quiet, but never this quiet. That's what you're seeing. That's a subway station right there.
And it's pretty windy outside, Sree.
It's completely empty. We're going to go back inside so that you don't get that wind. So
what's the weather like out there? Sree, what's the weather like out there?
Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, it's about 41 degrees here, which means it's about 5 degrees Celsius and 41 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite crisp and chilly. It's a beautiful day, but we all know that out there are things that can kill you. This coronavirus, we are in the epicenter of the epicenter in New York, and it's very tragic to see what's happened here and around the world. But America, it didn't have to be this way. You're seeing the effect of how a combination of skepticism at the very top and a population that believes that if you don't open up right away, things are going to get much worse with the economy. And so you're seeing now these scenes of openings all over America, and we're worried that that will mean even more trouble in the days and weeks ahead.
Sree, we have a number of people joining us. Let's go through and see who's with us so far and where they're watching from. We have Jonathan Bernstein, of course, watching from the East Village. I think if we were keeping track, this might have been the 500th consecutive time he was the first person to log in and say hello. Jonathan, thank you for always being there, always being our first viewer. Laura Silverman, a former guest on the New York Times Read Along, is joining us from Philadelphia. Happy Mother's Day, Laura. Rusadan, and I don't know the last name, I apologize. Vasha Kidze, she's talking about the amazing weather outside. Deborah Kerr as well, happily self-shuttering in Fort Lauderdale. Anu Bardwaj, hey Anu, how are you doing? Good to see you. Happy Mother's Day to you and all the other mothers in the house. Deborah was also saying the skies are so clear you'd need sunscreen, and it does look pretty bright for you. Of course, we have Paula Kiger joining us from Tallahassee, Florida. We'll introduce you to her and our other producer, Steve Taylor, in just a moment. Perry Hewitt is watching on Twitter. Perry, thank you for joining us. And who else do we have? Sylvie Haldipur is joining us from Bucks County, PA. She's looking forward to seeing Pradnya in just a few minutes. Thank you for joining us. let's see, who else do we have? Nitin C. Paul. Wishing
Nitin's
everyone
watching from Dharamshala.
From
Dharamshala is the
Dharamshala.
home of the Dalai Lama, and
Yeah.
just lovely to have someone watching from there. Thank you, Nitin. Ashok
That's
is
great.
watching from Kerala in India. Thank you. That's where my mom is. Happy Mother's Day, Amma. Great to see you and for having you here. Debbie's watching from DC. She's a great mom, and she was in this building as well. And then she moved to be in a different city out in DC. And Ashok is, as I said, watching from Trivandrum.
And I'm going to continue with some of the greetings and bring in, let's see, Diane Stefani is wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day from Margate, New Jersey. She's not a mom. She just wants to make that clear. And happy, we want to wish our greetings to everyone, whether you're a mom, whether you have children, whether you have a mother figure in your life. It's an expansive definition of Mother's Day. Meenakshi Mahajan is saying hello from North Carolina. We have Stephen Kaplan sending his greetings from Ramsey, New Jersey. Happy Mother's Day to all the amazing, strong, and hardworking moms around the world who do so much 365 days a year, not just on Mother's Day. Sharon Barr is watching from North River, New York. And we have just such a great group of people and great friends here. Sree, glad to bring you back in. You had frozen for a moment, so we wanted to make sure that we could hear you and see you. Before we go any further, I think what we'd like to do is to bring in the rest of our team just to say hello real quick. We have one of the things that makes this show possible and makes it as effective as it is to have producers where we are streaming to. So I'm going to bring on first our friend Paula Kiger from Tallahassee, Florida. Morning, Paula, and Steve Taylor, who's in Philadelphia.
Good morning.
See Steve Taylor up there on the top of your screen. One of the things that we do is Paula and Steve will add links to various articles and context to the discussion. They'll engage with folks if there are any questions, any technical issues. They're definitely your eyes and ears. If something seems to be going off, they will help guide you. Steve is joining us on LinkedIn. So if there are any comments that you have, Steve will send them to me so I can paste them on the screen. And again, we couldn't do this without you. Please make sure to follow them on social media. My handle is at the bottom as well, at Neil Parekh on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Paula Kiger is at Big Green Pen. She has her big green pen with her. And Steve Taylor is at Steve Derive, Derive, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you so much for all the work that you do and the help you provide.
I just want to say to both of them and to Neil, folks, you've been watching this. Some of you have been with us for 5 years. They've taken something where I was just playing around with Facebook and trying to learn Facebook Live and turn it into something so special, a global community, thousands of people who watch around the world every week. We've had such amazing guests. We have an amazing guest today, and all of it's possible because of this team. And one of the things we've been doing, my own work as a social media consultant has pivoted a little bit because of the virtual events that are taking place around the world. As a speaker myself, a lot of events got canceled. So we're saying to people, don't cancel your events. Talk to us. We'll help you take them virtual and make them better. And so contact me, Sree at Sree.net. We will help your event do great online. It'll never be as good as an in-person event, but we'll make it as dynamic and as interesting as possible. Not your regular Zoom call. We make it a show. And so please email me, Sree at Sree.net. We're working with institutions around the world. And we just finished a 3-day conference for Princeton, for example, and so many other organizations. And you can also make your own show like this. If you like what you're seeing here, email me. We'll talk to you how to make a white label show that is just your own, and we'll help you, whether you're an individual, an organization, nonprofit, company, anything. Just be in touch. We can help you. We can be 10% of your production or 110% of your production. So please do contact us, and we will talk more about this. And so thank you very much to Paula and to Steve. And I know you need to get back into those rooms.
Thank you very much, Paula, Steve. Appreciate your help as always.
Sounds good.
Thing.
So there we go, Sree. We have a number of other people who have joined us since. So let's just take a quick look. We had a good question actually.
Neil, 1 second.
Please.
Neil, why don't you go through and read those, and I will do my alert to my list of people who have signed up, asking me to let them know when we're live with my shows. So we have this show every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, and then we have a daily program that we do around COVID-19. And tonight's show is at 9 p.m. Eastern. And because we're doing so many and the time changes, people have asked me. So I've created a WhatsApp group. And it's not a group, it's just an alert. So I just need to send them a note that I'm live right now. And we want you to join us 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's Positivity Night here every night, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 6:30 a.m. Eastern Indian time in India. So please do join us. And if you need to want to be on that alert list, just email me, sree@sree.net, or just go to YouTube and sign up for subscription. It's free there, free subscription on YouTube. SreeNet is my handle there, and you'll find all our shows, all our incredible shows, not just the New York Times Read Along, but also the daily program. And some of the world's most interesting, dynamic, relevant speakers are showing up on our shows, both in this setting as well as the daily program. So do join us there. So I'm going to go do that, Neil, while you also thank our wonderful sponsors.
Absolutely. I was going to do that. So we'll go into thanking our sponsors first. We really couldn't do the work that we do without their support, and we really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and thank them. Take a moment and thank them. And of course, if you're interested in sponsoring the New York Times Read Along, please feel free to email me, neil@neilparekh.org. Strategy Focus Group is a global team of human capital strategists committed to helping organizations solve people issues within your organization. They do that by working alongside you to solve your toughest problems and helping you capture your greatest opportunities. Muckrack helps you discover news as it breaks, easily generate reports, and explore the work of journalists, podcasters, bloggers, and more. Muckrack software helps PR teams build stronger relationships with the media. And if you're a journalist, you might also be eligible for their free tools to identify trends and showcase your work. Thank you to Ron Thomas of Strategy Focus Group, Greg Gallant, and Mike Schneider from Muckrack for their support of the New York Times Read Along. And as I was saying earlier, we have a number of comments that I want to share with you before we dive into the show. And we had a really good question we'll make sure to come back to. But first, let's see where we were, where we left off. I think we had Sharon Barr from New York, from North River, rather, and Laura Silverman. Thank you for the almost matching shirts. We should have official New York Times Read Along shirts with an embroidered logo. And New York Times Read Along merch, maybe people will buy them. That's an interesting idea. And Perry Hewitt, all the producers do an amazing job. Thank you, Perry. Really appreciate that. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce Vij Berry. Hopefully I'm doing that correctly. Thank you for joining us, Ellen Austin, also from New York. And this is a question from Vincent D'Souza that I thought we should make sure to get to. Are we going to talk about the Pulitzers? Certainly with the announcements this week. And one of the things I want to shout out, one of the Pulitzers went to the New York Times for their work on the 1619 Project. And right on cue, our friend Sunny Slaughter, who was our guest on a special edition of the 1619 Project, is with us and wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. So certainly congratulations to all the winners. ProPublica won an award with the Anchorage Daily News as well. We have Carla Baranakis joining us from New Jersey. Happy Mother's Day, Carla, as well. And Perry is, again, all about the team. And yes, there is a need for this in this virtual event space. So if you are interested, please feel free to contact us. We'd be happy to help you with a online event. So we'll go ahead and move on. Let's see if we can bring Sree back in to the show. Sree, how are you? You shared. Hopefully everyone else is sharing as well on their
please
media
tag
channel.
your friends. Please tag your friends. Hit share right now. Retweet from the Twitter feed that we have. Everybody can join us. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. No excuses. Everybody can join us. Please tag and share. And if they don't want to watch live, they can watch later. Someone who would benefit from watching this, here's your chance to do that.
Absolutely. So I think that we're just about to jump in. Sree, before we bring in our guest, should we talk about our Mother's Day special this morning?
Yes, so exciting. We have Neil has worked very hard to create a special Mother's Day shout out to moms. And so Neil's going to walk us through that.
Absolutely. So what we've done, and this is part of a effort, we're sharing 50% of the proceeds with Nick Kristof C19 Impact Initiative. So we will talk more about that later in the show. But first, I want to just share some of the Mother's Day greetings that people have sent in and wanted to share with folks. The first one, I think, is really great. And I'll just go through these and read the greetings and leave you with the great pictures we have. Happy Mother's Day to Lekha Srinivasan from Sree Srinivasan. That's a cute little Sree in that picture. I would have to say. We have Happy Mother's Day to my own mom, Sudha Tolia Parekh from Neil Parekh, and that's another picture from a couple of years ago. Happy Mother's Day to Rupa Unikrishnan from Sree Srinivasan, Durga, and Krishna. Happy Mother's Day to Pam Stumpo, my wife, from Neil Parekh and Emily. And Happy Mother's Day to Jayshree Unikrishnan, Rupa's mom, from Rupa Unikrishnan. Then when we get through, these are the ones from others that were submitted. And I want to do a special shout out. Happy Mother's Day to Paula Kiger from Wayne Tenley and Wayne Kevin. That is Paula Kiger, one of our producers. Paula did not know this was coming. Tenley, thank you for sending it in. We do have a greeting from Happy Mother's Day to Sue Ann Bohem from her sister, Carla Baranakis. Thank you, Carla. And a special Happy Mother's Day to Ruth Edelman. May her memory be a blessing, from her daughter, Renee Edelman. Thank you, Renee. We have another Happy Mother's Day to Carol Baranakis from her sister-in-law, Carla Baranakis. And that's, of course, Carol on the right. Paula herself sent one for her mother. Happy Mother's Day to Letha. I'm not sure if it's Letha or Letha. I should have checked, Paula. My apologies. May her memory be a blessing as well, from Paula Kiger. And from Carla Baranakis, again, Happy Mother's Day to her own mother, Molly Baranakis. May her memory be a blessing. So thank you to everyone who sent in their greetings. And finally, Happy Mother's Day to Maria Del Bello from Christine, Michael, and all the kids. Thank you very much to everyone for submitting their greetings for Mother's Day. We have a few others that we will scroll throughout the show. We will also, if you're interested, we set this up as a promotion for both the Sunday New York Times read along in the morning and the Sree COVID call in the evening. So the ads that you saw just now will show on both. But if you're still interested in participating, you can still submit your information to digimentors.link facebook.com/mothers. And it will appear on the evening show at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We've reduced the rates so that it would be just for the one show, $50 to have a card with a picture and a message that, like we just showed. $30 if you just want to include your picture as part of a collage. And we'll combine it with others. Or $20 to scroll a thank you across the screen. We will 50% of all the proceeds will go to Nick Kristof's C19 Impact Initiative, and we'll talk more about that later in the program. So thank you to everyone who participated, and again, we'll share a few banners across the bottom of the screen throughout the show.
And we'll also make sure we show the pictures again at the end before we're done. We have enough time, and Neil, we also have more that have continued to come in, so you'll know to check that Excel sheet where we've been gathering these. It's kind of fun to learn. One part of the reason we're doing this is also to learn what works, how to connect with people, how to do online support for content like this. So we're very grateful. Deborah just tagged some of her friends. Everyone tag a friend right now. If you don't want to share this into your network, just tag anyone who would benefit from the positivity and the getting the news. And Deborah says, how do you add a pic? Well, just go in. We'll show that ad one more time.
Absolutely.
As we see both my mom and Neil's mom on the screen right there. You can see that's me in Tokyo. Love you, Amma. You're watching in Kerala. So happy. And so if you'll just email Neil, if you forget all this, just email Neil or email me, Sree@Sree.net.
Sure.
We have till 9 p.m. Eastern, or maybe a couple of hours before then.
A little before that, Sree.
Otherwise, go to digimentors.link/mothers.
Absolutely.
Digimentors.link/mothers, and you will there get the address that you need. So take a screenshot or take a photo if you need.
It's a form online, and I see Paula has shared the link in the Facebook group as well. I'm sure Steve will share it in LinkedIn. One of the things that we found last week, for what it's worth, is that Facebook didn't like the link a few times. We shared it once, a couple times it didn't come back out. So please make sure to contact us in any way, and we will coordinate with you. But please do let us know by 6 p.m. or so we have time to set up the greeting on your behalf. And we have already some. Paula said she was surprised by that, and so I'm glad you were surprised, Paula. I didn't spill the beans, Stanley. Laura thought the tributes were fabulous. And Amit is also saying Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers during the pandemic, who will be mothers during the pandemic. Our prayers are with you always. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And so with that, Sree, I think that we can go ahead and dive into the paper. You want to give us a little tour of what's in the paper today before we bring on our guest, Pradnya?
Absolutely. She's been waiting very patiently. We are taking the extra time today because we want to make sure we salute mothers and also look at the news and get a chance to talk. There's so much going on here, folks. This is so dramatic. Look at the business section. The most Americans out of work since the Depression. And it is really sad to see this. Many of you know that I lost a job very prominently 4 years ago, almost this week. And the only reason I got through it was the support of this network and my family and friends around the world. And I just cannot imagine seeing 30 million Americans out of work. It is so stunning. And we will talk more about that. The cover of the New York Times Magazine, can democracy survive the pandemic? And that's a question many of us are asking, not just in the United States, but around the world. Arts and leisure, Doubtfire disrupted. Some of you may not even know that there was to be, or there is, a Mrs. Doubtfire musical. And then this is that new section of the New York Times, at home. Even in the living room, we've still got the moves, and you can dance and have fun. If you can make it, you can decide how you want to have fun. We had a terrific guest just a couple of weeks ago, Harlan Coben, the #1 New York Times bestselling author, and the guy with 3 shows on Netflix. And he said, you bring your own weather to the picnic. And I will never forget that. It's hard when you can't go anywhere. The Sunday Styles starts with an assisted living home in southeastern Colorado, not the place they start the Sunday styles usually. There's still the real estate section. It's time to get out of Dodge. That's a term that some of you know, which means that, you know, you want to get out of Dodge, the city or the town in Western lore. But here we're talking about getting out of New York and going upstate or somewhere else to be safe. Book review is all about family issues, new fiction, nonfiction, and memoirs about the ties that bind and tear us apart and bring us together. We have the Metropolitan section that you won't see anywhere else. So you want to, even if you subscribe online, you won't see this section this way. The art section, it's up to you, upstate New York. So tying that up a little bit. And then the Sunday review is the future of Christianity is punk. Modern life is ugly, brutal, and barren. Maybe you should try a Latin mass. So that's an unusual, non-directly pandemic story. And then I wanted to show you this dramatic design. The New York Times continues to do amazing design work. Look at this. They're showing you the unemployment is its worst since the Depression. And this was yesterday's headline and then goes all the way down. I think they did the opposite once when they were trying to show the unemployment rate. But just look how dramatic this is, folks. You can see since the end of World War II, these are the 1946, or you go in here, 1980, there was a recession. And then the 2008 recession, look how bad that was. And then look how bad this is. This is one of the best ways to understand what's going on in the country right now. And this is the Sunday front page. Little Richard has died, folks. Very sad. He was one of the most influential musicians of all time. Everyone from Elvis Presley to folks like Elton John have talked about how they were affected by Little Richard and influenced by him. So we'll talk about all of this. Let's have Pradnya come in. And before that, just here, look at this. The cover front picture is Culture Waiting to be Revisited outside the Metropolitan Museum of Art last week. Tourism is one of the factors complicating the return of New York to normalcy. Many of you have met me here on these stairs as I have hosted empty Met tours and shown you around. And this is so sad to see. This was the place I lost my job 4 years ago this week or next week. I need to think about that a little bit. But we're so sad that this is the situation in New York right now.
Sree, before we bring on Pradnya, I've been holding a comment on the screen because I want to make sure you see it.
Oh, thank you. This is my mom. Amma's watching you, darling, from Kerala. She says, missing you. We miss you, Amma. People, our kids are upstairs in the other apartment, in our apartment, but I'm here, and I just wanted to say I love you and hope to see you soon. I'm just flipping the camera. I just want to say love you, Amma, and see you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye. And let's get started. Look who's here. It's Pradnya Haldipur is joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Pradnya.
Hey, how are you, Sree? Hi, Neil.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel a little bit like I've stepped through the looking glass. I've been a fan and a participant in the Sunday morning read along for the full 5 years. And so I feel a little bit like I'm itching to comment rather than being here on the screen.
It's so great to have you, Pradnya. So great to have you. Just want to make sure that you're getting Shree's audio.
I don't think
I hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to leave and come back. Neil, why don't you get started?
Absolutely.
Tell us her story.
Absolutely. Pradnya, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Of course, for folks, follow her on Twitter. She's P. Haldipur on Twitter and Photo Prod on Instagram. Give us a moment. Tell us about your approach to Instagram. How is that different from your approach on Twitter?
Yeah. So it's interesting how the use of different platforms have sort of evolved as I learn how to use them and sort of how I want to present myself to the world. So, Facebook has sort of always been the people that know me best. And then Twitter, I've used primarily for professional purposes, although occasionally, live tweeting from things like presidential debates and sort of events that are happening in real time. Instagram, I warn you all right now, is primarily pictures of food and pictures of my children. And so, I try to be artistic about it. I try to post interesting things, but it's really the place where I gather memories on Instagram.
That's great. Appreciate it. One of the things that we wanted to talk to you about today, of course, is Mother's Day. It's also, in the time of COVID-19. So we'll cover that and various aspects of both those things. But take a moment and tell us what Mother's Day is like during COVID-19. What would you normally have done today, or hopefully the kids and family would have done something for you, and what's happening given the restrictions?
So we're not going anywhere, obviously. My kids are now at that age where they're taking Mother's Day upon themselves. They what's that?
How old are your kids again?
7 and 5.
7 and 5.
And so this morning I got woken up with a happy Mother's Day, which was really sweet. And my kids know me very, very well. My Mother's Day gift is a whiteboard and whiteboard markers, because I was complaining one day that I can't think straight without a whiteboard in my office. And so that's what they gave me. And then my daughter made me an omelet, which she's learned to make herself. But the truth is we've never been a big sort of holiday family. We probably just would have gone about our regular business today, whatever that would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for a long time, I mean, I say that now, but for a long time, Mother's Day was a non-event in my life. And so, it's a regular day for us, like any other. But I can imagine there's a lot of people out there that are very sad to not be spending Mother's Day with their mother or with their children. And so, I just hope we'll all think about them today. And
let's talk about that for a little bit, Pradnya. This is Mother's Day is a special day in many ways for a lot of people. And it's also a challenging time for a lot of people. There are people who are grieving their moms.
Mhm.
This is one of the submissions actually that we got for Mother's Day. So we wanted to make sure that we remembered people who are grieving their moms. It's also hard for some people who are moms who are grieving the loss of their children as well, and any number of ways that might happen, whether it's through gun violence, whether it's through circumstances of birth and death. Can you speak to that a little bit in terms of
Sure.
what, your feelings about Mother's Day kind of over the years and how you've come to where you are?
Sure, of course. I don't mean to be cryptic in saying that Mother's Day was a non-event. What I mean by that is that actually my own mother passed away now 26, 27 years ago. Yeah, that's right. So I was 20 years old at the time. Yeah, that's my mom. That's Dr. Asha Ganu Haldipur. Stubborn, beautiful, a great mother, gone too soon.
You look just like her, by the way.
Yeah, everybody says that, but I don't see it. I don't. And actually, she's pregnant with me in that picture. Not that you can really see, because she was, very skinny at that age. She was 26 in that picture. And so when she passed away, right, it sort of took the joy out of Mother's Day for a long time. And I know that, there are others, I share this experience because I would love for the audience to know that they're not alone. Many of us have been through things in our lives that make these kinds of holidays challenging. And so for a long time, I ignored Mother's Day, and then it got even more fraught in the 6 years that my husband and I spent trying to have kids. right? So, that was its own special kind of, sadness on Mother's Day. And so, I guess the message that I would want to leave the audience with is it does get better. It really does. And you do find ways to celebrate, whether it be the mother figures in your life, which I have many, many, many. I have many aunties that I adore, and as I've gotten older, being a mother figure, not just to, I mean, I hope I'm a mother figure to my children, but
Let's hope.
let's hope. But all of the nieces and nephews and children of friends, I routinely volunteer to be the crazy Indian auntie in my friends' children's lives, because I really believe everyone needs a crazy Indian auntie. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a joyous Mother's Day today because my kids woke me up and said Happy Mother's Day, but it's it I don't know how to put this exactly, but I don't forget that it's still hard for a lot of people. So just know that if nothing else, here in the Sreeniverse, we made up that term earlier today, that there's a lot of support here, for
Sure.
anyone that's hurting.
Sure. No, it is hard. And I want to give a shout out to my mom, since she's watching from Hastings on Hudson. Hi, Mom. Appreciate you able to join us. And Rose was saying that was a beautiful picture of your mother. So I want to thank her for sharing that as well.
I have to tell you, Neil, one of my all-time favorite things every week about the read along is seeing your mom and Sree's mom tuning in. I mean, and to the point where, I've never had the honor of meeting them in person. I hope I will sometime. But in my own head, they're already, auntie.
They are.
We've sort of gotten to know them so well here in this network. So yes, Happy Mother's Day, Auntie Sree's mom and Neil's mom.
We do think of this as a family, the New York Times Read Along family. So, it's not just the everyone's moms that we feel close to, but all of us, it's been a great community that we've built up over time, and that extends to our relatives. Obviously, I bring Emily, my daughter, onto the screen every now and
Yes.
then. We see Shree's kids and his dog Tara make special cameos. We often see Rupa in the background. And Paula is saying, we love Sree and Neil's moms, our chief cheerleaders. Absolutely. And I want to also honor a comment Carla left, that there are many people grieving the loss of their mother because of the pandemic. And, mourning and grieving is very different these days because of the inability to mourn together. So let me see if I can bring Sree back in. Sree, can you hear us? Can we hear you? Yes?
Yes, you can.
Great.
How are you?
Good. So let's dive into the paper a little bit, and I'll step out. And if you see me on stage, that's because we're having audio technical difficulties. Otherwise, I'll leave the show to you.
Thank you so much, Neil and Pradnya. So great to have you here with us. You have been with us every step of the way these 5 years, and I'm so delighted we can have you on screen. But we're missing your participation in the comments, so please do jump in as we look at the news. And we'll, we try on this show not to be political, but to be politically aware of what's happening and where things are going. Here's a lead story in the New York Times: a bridge of federal relief may crumble in summer as losses mount. Leaders weigh a return versus approving more aid and debt. And why this is important is that not everyone's gotten relief now. People are listening to this. You know that so many of our friends have not been able to get the relief they need. They're either run small businesses or consultants, people like that, and they're having a very difficult time to get money. One of the folks who I talked to, they run 5 restaurants in New York, and they couldn't get their New York bank that they worked with, Pradnya, for 19 years to even return their phone calls, and they had to get a loan all the way out from Kentucky. Can you imagine being the world financial capital and not able to get capital?
Well, let me just say, though, having lived in Kentucky for 9 years, that folks there tend to be incredibly nice and incredibly accessible, so that doesn't surprise me. But the thing that we found, so my day gig is being the executive director of Magic Bus USA, and we did apply for a PPP grant, and we did get it, for a small amount, but it took a lot of persistence and digging and talking to multiple banks, because I think the banks themselves were overwhelmed. The government sort of put this out there, and there was no clarity around the regulations, the process, and so all of us, nonprofits included, really had to do our due diligence to access any part of the money.
Therefore, you're seeing kind of so when they're saying things are going to get worse, that worries me a lot. Disputing the death toll to score political points, rebuffing the science to bolster Trump. I mean, you're seeing the anti-vaxxers out. You're seeing all kinds of people come out. The climate change deniers. By the way, it was snowing up here, Pradnya, on yesterday in May. Like, that does not happen on a regular basis. Surprise ruling, latest reversal in Flynn's life. He has now, the case has been dropped. I don't know how it works that you can plead guilty and then have the case dropped. How does that work? Only in today's America does that happen. Deep yearning for hometown lost to a virus. And this is an entire story looking at how a certain town has changed, or part of town has changed, and why reopening New York City is still far off, a closed playground. This is going to be one of the things that we worry about. And how long will New York be in lockdown? And this was a Little Richard obit that's running in the Times. Of course, it's sad he's died. He's 87. But I also smile when I see him and his way of connecting people around the world with his music. I've danced to his music in multiple continents, and just so great to see him here. His son, Danny Jones Penniman, said the cause was cancer and did not say where he died. Little Richard did not invent rock and roll. Other musicians had already been mining a similar vein by the time he recorded his first hit, Tutti Frutti, a raucous song about sex, its lyrics cleaned up, but its meaning hard to miss, in a New Orleans recording studio in September 1955. But Little Richard, delving deeply into the well springs of gospel music and the blues, pounding the piano furiously and screaming as if for his very life, raised the energy level and several notches and created something not quite like any music that had been heard before, something new and thrilling. And that's the front page of the New York Times. The many way moms can grow. Motherhood is all about changing. So we collected stories of transformations. And so a series of essays are in the Sunday Style section. And this was this day in 1936, Italy annexes Ethiopia. And again, kind of global headlines that today would be so jarring. And the world does change. That's one of the things that I keep telling my kids, that the world does bounce back, but how we bounce back is going to matter. How to create a compost bin for the living room. This I wanted to share because our friend Himali Patel, who is a great mom herself, she is really proud of the composting work she does, and on her Facebook you can see it. And look at this great ad, really stunning here, for Montefiore Einstein Hospital, College of Medicine here in New York. And I love this, in honor of all the brave nurses now and forever. Wealthy states are forced to reckon with migrant labor, one of the big issues that we're seeing, not just in the Middle East, but also here in the United States. Twyla says, Little Richard influenced so many musicians I love, and his shows were great fun. Twyla really knows her rock and roll. And so thank you, Twyla, for sharing that comment. And Mark Lee says, I'm so grateful to all of you, including my new friends in the Read Along family, like Sunny Slaughter, Rose Horowitz, Pradnya, Sudha, and so many other great mothers here in our family. Absolutely. And look at this, tracking an outbreak. That's the way they are showing this. And this is in Saudi Arabia. Saudis don't want to take jobs they perceive as below their qualifications, so they get migrant labor. We also have migrant labor here in the United States. Here's Olay. Do you remember when it used to be called, Pradnya, it used to be called oil of Olay? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like Kentucky Fried Chicken. So things change, don't they?
They do, but I think that, sorry, I shouldn't be touching my face. Sree, you taught me that. Yeah, no, but it's still, I don't know. We still enjoy remembering these things, right? They're nostalgic.
Yeah, look at all these ads, one after another. Vacation in your own backyard. Like, this is a time capsule of this moment where the ads are about nurses and staying at home. And look at this, America. It's time to move away from meat. American factories and slaughterhouses are filthy as wet markets anywhere in the world. This is an important point. Do you, when people talk about what's happening in China, those wet markets are like this in some ways. If you looked inside at the blood, urine, waste, and offal on the floors and walls, you would lose your lunch. Eat as if everyone's life depends on it, because it does. PETA.org/vegan. Starter kits, mentors, and recipes. Leaders slid prohibition into the lockdown rules in South Africa. And as health systems under Putin's control buckle, oligarchs take charge. Of course, you're seeing that in Russia. When can New York City open? Nobody can tell you, Cuomo says. And here we are, people taking this gesture would have looked very different just 2 months ago. By the way, Pradnya, we're on 60 days here in New York. How do I know? I've been doing my daily global show for 60 straight days.
I mean, it's been remarkable. I've tried to tune into as many of them as I can. I'm not Jonathan Bernstein. No one could be, who's probably been to all of them. But it's been a lifeline for so many of us, right? I mean, just to know that confidently on any given day, Sree will be there, his guests will be there to help us think and talk about things outside of our own personal experience. So, so thank you for that, Sree, and the team here, because it really has helped us be outside of ourselves. My personal favorite is the Sunday night positivity show. Because by Sunday night, we all locked in with our children. We all need a little positivity.
You're right. And today, by the way, we're a great show. Christina Deo is going to be with us. She's an Emmy Award-winning producer. She produced Martha Stewart, Rosie O'Donnell, and she's going to share some tips on how to stay positive through all of this. By the way, I just want to show you, this is the front page of the New York Times with the Met, and so the view this angle, and then inside the paper, they have the view of what this lady is essentially looking at straight ahead in this photo here. This is what she would be seeing. So that was Fifth Avenue you saw on the front page, and this is 84th Street right here. And so you're seeing that. A team with chemistry.
New York hasn't looked like this since, I know we've said this many times, but New York has not looked like this since right after 9/11. And, for myself, I was in New York at the time, working at NYU. And I just remember walking down Broadway, smack dab in the middle of Broadway, nothing to stop me, the day after the event. And I really hope that New York will bounce back soon. It's the place of my youth, my crazy 20s. And I'm sad to see it struggling the way it is.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. You also know the subway system is shut from 1 to 5 a.m. in the city that never sleeps. The subway
Unprecedented,
sleeps. Yeah, it has never happened. Look at this. Dr. Scott Jensen, a Republican state senator in Minnesota, said federal guidelines were inflating the pandemic's death toll. I don't know if he's an MD or not, but that shows you just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you will be always you'll always be accurate, and you will be telling the truth. And this guy Jensen is part of the problem, really problematic, and people are lying in order to score political points.
Well, isn't every politician a doctor these days?
Yeah, exactly. Look at this. The 3 virus czars are isolating after contact with carriers. The vice president's press secretary is isolating because she's tested positive. One of the valets of the president has tested positive, but the president isn't following his own guidelines. He should be quarantined for 14 days, but he's not doing that. So Anthony Fauci, Stephen Hahn, and Robert Redfield are all in quarantine, and it doesn't seem to matter to the president. And so that's part of the issues here. Hospitals are eager to restart elective care, a big part of their revenue. And we've talked to more than 20 doctors on our two shows, and we are always hearing from them that they want to help their patients because there are other problems beyond COVID, and this is an issue. With Tesla plants still shuttered, Musk lashes out at state officials. He's also a guy who uses whatever means necessary to talk about the things that he cares about, and he doesn't always have a strong relationship with the truth, and we know that because he had to pay an SEC fine around it. Look at this. Mothers who went to Hunter's College really do know best. Donors to the 2020 Hunter College Mother's Day Scholarship Fund, and a really beautiful ad here from CUNY and
You know me, I always love
Hunter
to
College High
see
School.
evidence of philanthropy.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. You're our resident expert on philanthropy in our New York Times Read Along family. What are some things that you're seeing? And we have a lot of nonprofits who are watching. What are your tips on how to engage the board, how to connect with them as we go forward?
I mean, I think first of all, I think it is remarkable at how many people have come together, have been thinking about their community and giving to support COVID relief efforts, and in many cases, actually, to help stabilize organizations with which they already had a relationship. To help get through this crisis. I think that my biggest thought or concern is making sure that Magic Bus, and the same with any other organization, that the stabilization get them through the crisis, that philanthropy helps with that, but that we also don't lose sight of the fact that this will end sometime. It's not going to be forever, and that all of these wonderful nonprofits and NGOs, many of them in the Indian community, many of them outside of the Indian community, they're all going to want to get back to the work at hand. And so really to not lose sight of that, right? That in a year, 2 years, it may be 5 years, who knows? But to be planning now for what you imagine your organization to look like in the future. And for donors, here's my plea to you, right? No matter which organization you're supporting, stick with them through all of this, because it's going to be hard. They're going to do things like stop their programming. They're going to do things like deprioritize, sending out newsletters. But that doesn't mean they don't still need you. So, if I can encourage you all, think about who you've been supporting, keep supporting them, and stick with them, even if they're not, the same organization that they've always been, just through this.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great advice. Very, very important for us to hear. We're looking now at, in the fight to treat coronavirus, your lungs are a battlefield, and great explanation of everything that happens and how a ventilator works. And you're seeing here, for many people, this may be the first time they're seeing how deep the oxygen needs to go, the tube that's put in, and what happens with the lungs. This is very serious stuff, folks. And that's why you see people have, obviously so many people have survived, but also so many people have died. For graduations, high schools add pomp to odd circumstance. Stubborn spread troubles Chicago and Los Angeles. And those are our big cities that are in trouble: New York, LA, Chicago, and others. Two schools, private and public, illustrate the gap in remote learning, which is certainly an issue for us. One of my friends said his 7-year-old is learning nothing from the online world. It is not helping her in any way.
Well, it's hard to get 7-year-olds to sit still, Sree, is the thing, right? I have one myself. I know Neil has said the same thing about his daughter. It isn't a lack of desire to learn. It's just so different, right? So much of learning at that age is peer pressure to sit still and pay attention.
Here's an unusual story from Bangkok. When it's 100 degrees, looking a bit less fluffy is essential business. And this is about grooming for pets in Bangkok. And here's what's happening with some of the dogs in Thailand. Sisters fight to free Uyghur jailed in China after he visited the U.S. U.S. escalates media war with Beijing, and shining a light on the traps women face in Japan Israel forbids banks to help Palestinians get stipends. You're seeing these amazing things happening around the world. I will point out a story about that ran in the Atlantic that I think is going to be one of the signature articles of the Trump era, where they said in the article that, whenever we say, boy, Trump is being really cruel, right? Taking away food stamps and adding to the pain of people. And this article said the cruelty is the point. And it's by former Columbia journalism student and Adam Server. And it's just an amazing story in the Atlantic. Everybody needs to read that. It's called The Cruelty is the Point. Tackling a pandemic, the issues by day, patience by night. The most impactful thing of having these dual experiences of seeing just the expanse of people, how this virus is hurting folks. All 98 environmental rules the Trump administration is revoking or rolling back. And you're seeing here why media matters, not just the New York Times. Please support your local journalism. So many journalism organizations are closing, newspapers are closing. Please step up, please support them. Anxious about the virus, older voters are growing more wary of Trump. Well, if it takes that, then it just takes that. But that's the story here. Flynn's decision imperils rule of law, Obama says in call with backers. Around the country, doctors try to turn those nightly cheers into a political wave. I knock on the doors of strangers every day when I knock on the door of an exam room and need to establish trust. My daughter looked me in the eye and said, well, Mom, if not you, then who? This is Hero Tiripaneni and what she is doing, Little Richard's obit. And then Roy Horn, 75, who dazzled audiences as half of Siegfried and Roy dies. Using a stunning mix of magic costumes and exotic animals. This also makes me think, Pradnya, about the Tiger King show on Netflix. I don't know if you had a chance to see that yet.
I have to admit, no, I have not succumbed to the lure of the Tiger King, which is not to say I haven't been, binge watching all manner of other absurdities, but not that particular one. Mm-mm.
And here is the sports section, which used to be its own standalone section on Sundays. And now Stars Comeback will take a little longer. The world of no sports and how people are coping with no sports. And for chess, new problem. The new normal is not a problem. That's so interesting. And happy Mother's Day. If you couldn't get to the store for a Mother's Day card, we can help you say thank you. Color in the flowers, write in your message, draw a picture to express gratitude to the mom in your life. Happy Mother's Day from Citibank.
Clever.
And yeah, let's see. You get to pick where we go next.
How about the magazine?
Let's see here. We go to the magazine, which we love reading and checking out. Can Democracy Survive the Pandemic by Emily Bazelon. And is that Val Kilmer? My God, I almost didn't recognize him.
Oh, wow.
And here's the ad council with Alone Together and the New York Times Wine Club, which some people will definitely appreciate at this time. And let's look at the can do. So far in this crisis, there have been a strange vacuum of basic shared value platitudes. Viewership for the One World broadcast, 20 million. Total networks on which it was carried, 26. How to protect your family. Be coronavirus smart. Here's an ad from the CDC. Very important. And then the poem, as Pradnya knows, we read the poem out loud, usually making a mess of it. But here we go. At any moment, there could be a swerve in a different direction by Ellery Akers. There was a moment when shooting egrets for feathers became wrong. There was a moment when the Wilderness Act changed the lives of billions of blades of grass. I remember the moment when a river that used to catch fire turned from flammable to swimmable. A swerve smells astringent, like the wind off the sea. It tastes red, the way red hot cinnamon mints burn in your mouth. It's heavy, the way the weight of letters is heavy. Arriving in sacks at the Senate, it sounds like the click of needles as hundreds of thousands of women knit pink hats. It looks like a coyote crossing the freeway to go home. This is the poem. At any moment, there could be a swerve in a different direction. We hope there'll be a swerve in many ways. How'd you like that poem? It's by Emily Akers.
It's Fabulous. And I have to say, Sree, over the years, this read along has exposed me to more poets and poetry than I probably would have accessed myself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Look at this. To all moms who have passed away by Patricia Freudenberg. She's commenting there. We love these comments as they're coming in. If you want to do a shout out to your mom or mother in your life, please do speak up. Now, without saying anything about our own families, here's a question that came into the ethicist, Kwame Anthony Apaya. My brother isn't raising his child right. Should I voice my concerns? What would you say to the writer without knowing the exact case? You get the gist of it.
Oh, this is a very fraught question, considering my sister-in-law is on the feed.
She's doing a fabulous job, isn't she, Pradnya?
No, I would. It depends on your relationship with your brother. No, I would very much. If it were me, I would say what I'm thinking, because I know that my brother, I think anyway, would take that in the spirit with which it was offered. But that may not always be the case. And also, what do we mean by not raising them right? There's lots of ways to raise kids, and I don't know that any of us is equipped to judge anyone else in how they're raising their kids.
And Sylvie said, LOL, as she saw that. So that was great. That was a great moment here. Analog clocks, a letter of recommendation. An analog clock gives you just enough information to keep you tethered to the world without overwhelming you. So that's sweet. And then here is a simple sweet to share. Let this icebox cake be a template, and you'll have a special dessert no matter what's in your pantry. So this is called Mocha DuPont, a French icebox cake. Do you know anything about what that is, an icebox cake?
Yeah, it's frozen. It's like layers of, well, if I remember back to my Great British Baking obsession, it is literally that. It's, sort of cream and mousse, and it's frozen in the refrigerator or in the freezer rather than baked.
And it looks like you can use ready-made cookies. These are the petite cookies that you can use.
Yeah.
And
Neil will join me in this, which is that Girl Scout cookies make a great base for these kinds of frozen desserts.
Nice. Yes, I agree on that. Look at this, Val Kilmer. Cancer has taken Val Kilmer's voice, but the unlikeliest movie star in Hollywood history still has a lot he wants to say. I'm so sorry to hear about his cancer. It says the Iceman in Winter. An Iceman, as you know, is was his character's nickname in Top Gun. Look at him. I don't know enough of Val Kilmer's backstory, and maybe somebody who's read this can tell us. But I want to know what makes him the unlikeliest, Hollywood star. After all, he was very handsome, tall, good-looking. Look at his body there. He looked like Jim Morrison, for God's sake. So I want to know what made him unlikely. Somebody can tell us. Maybe there's something in his childhood. Maybe there was something unusual. But to call him the most unusual or most unlikely in history is surprising to me without having read the story. I feel like I couldn't possibly be in a better place for attracting better and better roles, he says. So that's interesting. And here's
that's amazing. But can we all just please take a moment to remember the volleyball scene, the shirtless volleyball scene from Top Gun, in which Val Kilmer, played a major role?
You mean his body did? But look at this. Can you tell this is not Jim Morrison? Look at that. And
no, it does. He looks
Morrison
like
obviously a beautiful man. And here's Kilmer in Batman. There's also an ad. This is a supplement that runs in the magazine. The doctors' teams buy out these ads. You don't need that for to be, to know about super doctors, but it's still interesting that they're doing this. And people have to make money. The New York Times has to get paid. That's important. The art in Kilmer's Hell Mel offices leans to the surreal. Here's a Batman figurine with Mark Twain's head. That's funny. Let's see. We're going to take a look at the cover story, and then Neil's going to play the video that they always create about how they make the New York Times Sunday cover ad. And look what they've done here. They've spun it around. Can democracy survive the pandemic? The safest way to cast a ballot is by mail, but opposition from the president, limited funding, and time running out to shift to a new system. Will that option be available to all voters? So they made this look like an American postcard. Americans will recognize it, but maybe others won't. And look at this. I voted, I voted, I voted. And we're going to see some of these images and the story here. Thank you for risking your life to vote. Why must we do that? Why must we risk our lives? Okay, so let's take a look at this ad. Not ad, but this story in the New York Times. Neil's going to play this video.
From the New York Times Magazine, this is Behind the Cover.
The cover story this week is by Emily Bazelon, and it's about the problem of how to conduct a safe election during a pandemic. This question was really brought to a head by the recent election in Wisconsin, which made clear that the safest way to conduct an election during a deadly pandemic is by mail.
We reached out to Pablo Delcan to come up with some different conceptual options for the cover. We wanted to make sure that this felt like a story about something that was going to happen, not about what had already happened.
Pablo used different combinations of visuals from the story, the pandemic and voting.
It's kind of classic illustration technique where you're trying to put two things together in a smart way.
Right.
We ended up really liking this image of the mask with the I voted sticker on it, just for its immediacy in the idea that you would be literally risking your life to exercise that right.
Not something that Americans are used to.
We asked Bobby Doherty to photograph it. This is a serious topic, but we wanted something that still felt graphic and eye-catching.
What I like about this cover is that it puts forward in a very clear and stark way a concern and anxiety that's beginning to nag at a lot of Americans. In a democracy like ours, people shouldn't have to choose between their own personal safety and their ability to cast a ballot.
Wow. Look at that. That's pretty amazing. And this is the cover, and I like it. So now every week we have a better understanding of the cover. And one of the things also that I'm working on, Pradnya, is to work on my design skills. And you saw how many options even a place like the Times can go through so fast, right? And design matters in all the nonprofit work we do because we got to communicate as clearly as possible. Here's how the pandemic is pushing community health centers to the breaking point. It's just so hard to be faced with what someone needs and not be able to give it to them, is one of the comments here. And New York City began moving homeless shelter residents. They're already under in tremendous strain. And look at that gesture again. We keep seeing this. Sylvie says, such a massive concern, but I've been wondering in a digital era, why can't we all just vote online? That's your sister-in-law talking.
Yes.
Well, what is your sense of that question?
I think people fundamentally aren't at a point where they trust technology, right? I mean, there are still aspects of our lives, like when you buy a house, for example, you still have to physically show up and sign a bunch of documents. So, if maybe voting is considered too momentous, too easily, I don't know, corrupted. I don't know, but it's obviously a direction one should be able to go in. If you can vote for America's top model online, why can't you, vote for a candidate?
And we're going to see how this will all go down this fall in America in November of 2020. Here's edited by Will Short's Border Crossings. Are you a crosswords person, by the way?
I am. I consider it a good day when I can get through maybe Tuesday or Wednesday in the New York Times crossword puzzle.
And this, just for people who don't get the reference, they get harder each day, right?
Yes.
And so Sunday is the hardest or easiest?
I think it's the hardest,
Okay,
but
so
someone who does it more often can correct me.
So let's do one of these and see. Number 12, senator who once served as editor of the Harvard Law Review.
Current senator or previous
Just a senator? I know Ann.
Obama?
Yes, Obama. Well done. Manhattan neighborhood west of the East Village.
West of the East Village. I don't know. You got me.
Yeah, we have to see how many words that is. Jonathan Borstein will weigh in with that. Popular Amazon Prime dramedy from Britain. I wonder if it's Fleabag or I don't know which one of those. I got this. Number 60, Kylo from Star Wars antagonist.
Kylo Ren.
Well done.
Yeah, well, if I didn't get that, my son would be very disappointed in me.
And Neil says, I think Saturday is the hardest crossword puzzle. Sunday is just bigger, says Neil. Thank you, Neil. And Blank Cochran, Mississippi senator from 1978 to 2018. I think it's Tad. I think that's the name. Wealthy King of Legend, you know that. Number 32. We had those great commercials for a car
Midas.
fixing company. Yes, the Midas Touch. Do you remember those ads? And look at the New York Times and Verizon have combined to give free access to the New York Times journalism for every high school student in America. What a great thing. Please tell them that they can get this through July 6th, or 2 months free New York Times for every high school. It's NYTimes/high school access. NYTimes/high school access. Marilyn says Friday is the hardest, Sunday is the longest. Then what about Saturday? We have some dispute in the house right now. Marilyn is an amazing leader in Staten Island who did so much work around Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, and is now doing things to help her people on Staten Island. And
Folks, this
so
is true Sunday morning read-along drama, this disagreement about crossword puzzles.
Exactly. Shall we go to the at-home section? Yep. Since most people have never seen this before, there's a new section that combines various other things of what to do at home. Bring in a remote dog trainer. You wanted that quarantine puppy? Now teach it to sit and to stay. Be your own spin class. You don't need much to get that endorphin fix indoors. Not even a spin bike. Ooh, I need to see that. Make ice cream in a jar. If you've had your fill of baking, ice treats might be the next thing. Seems like they've got multiple ice things going on. If you need to take a break from drinking, drinking. So this is all like service journalism, and some people may be offended to hear that about the wine drinking. Listen to 8 women who shape jazz. That's great because so much of jazz is around men, and so a whole article about how you can listen to 8 women. Don't miss the streaming premieres. What are your Netflix favorites?
You really expect me to own up to it in public? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you can just say what you've heard other people are watching.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I'll tell you, I'm saving Becoming as a special treat. The Michelle Obama documentary, I'm saving that for when I can, ugly cry in private watching it. And but I've been watching.
Sorry, what is she doing?
So there's the new documentary about Michelle Obama.
Okay. Do you think it's based on her book?
Based on her book. It's called Becoming.
Oh, that's the title of the book,
is the title of the book, yes. And but I know that watching it will set off certain emotions of joy and sadness for what we are. I promised I wouldn't get political, but I'm going to say this: having leadership in the White House that has a certain amount of intelligence, compassion, kindness, and for me at least, Michelle Obama embodies all of that, and so I know I will start crying ugly when I watch it. So that's I'm saving. But in terms of of course, Never Have I Ever, right? If folks haven't seen that, I know that there's going through my Facebook feed right now, there's a great deal of polarized debate, if you can call it that, about whether or not that show is truly representational of the South Asian experience. That being said, it's funny as hell, and the acting is brilliant, and so yeah, I recommend it to anybody. And what else do I?
I'll say to people that is Mindy Kaling's new show.
Yes.
And we had one of the actresses, Purna Jagannathan, on the Sunday Positivity show 2 Sunday nights ago, and she was terrific. And that show is in the top 10 trending in the US every single day, and really worth watching. We have about 15-20 minutes left with Pradnya, and we have so much to cover. So Pradnya, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your Sunday morning. I know your family must be wanting to spend time with you. And here's a question that's come up right now. I'm going to just flip the camera here. And it says, cut your children a break on discipline. Are you doing that?
Yes, I would say so. And I know there's a lot of debate as well about screen time, during the COVID crisis, during lockdown. But we're really just trying to take it day by day and cut them some slack because their whole world has been turned upside down. So, I think all of us parents can say a little bit of that, right? We're all just trying to muddle through.
Absolutely. Read a Pulitzer winner. These are 6 books that won Pulitzer Prizes, including Colson Whitehead's new book, which I've not read. or Sweet Taste of Liberty, a true story of slavery and restitution in America, and the Susan Sontag book, which looks fabulous. The biography of Susan Sontag is a skilled, lively, prodigiously researched book that in the main neither whitewashes nor rebukes its subject. It works hard to make the reader see Sontag as a severely complex person she was, said the New York Times Review. There's a whole poetry book that won, and journal nonfiction, The End of the Myth, From the Frontier to the Border Wall in the Mind of America by Greg Grandin. 8 dishes to cook this week. So lots of ideas here on what you might be able to cook. Korean barbecue style meatballs, sheet pan gnocchi, skillet greens with runny eggs, and crispy Frisco chicken breasts with mushrooms and thyme. I'm getting hungry. Spiced chickpea salad with tahini and pita chips. All of these sound wonderful. I'm so blessed. Rupa is an amazing cook, and my children also love to cook. So they've been doing so many great meals every single day. I'm very, very lucky. We calculated between the 4 of us with school and my travel, we used to eat 24 meals a day, roughly a week at home. Now we're eating 84 meals a week. I'm sorry. 24 meals a week.
It feels like 84 a day, yeah?
24 meals a week, and now it's 84 meals a week. Want to learn Italian, French, Czech? Jump in. No one's coming over to discover that you've taped an index card of your couch that says Divano. I like that. And new essentials: clean up the mess, best handheld vacuum, purifier, best trash can. This is what we have at home. Simple human rectangular step can, fancy dish rack, best robot vacuum. Make your own coronavirus piñata and then smash it. Ooh, that should be fun for all of you with young children. I think that'll be great. And New York Times events, they're doing them live at home. All right, we have just a few more minutes. Pradnya, I'm just going to read the headlines so people can catch these online. The Mrs. Doubtfire debut was in trouble. The most Americans out of work since the Depression. Folks, I just want to say that one of the things I'm going to try and do is do something to help people upskill in this environment. And if you would like to help me think about maybe doing some kind of conference around this topic of how to help people who are out of work, please let me know. Email me, Sree@Sree.net. We'd love to talk to you about that. The Sunday Style section, it's hard when you can't go anywhere, and what people are doing about that. I will do one thing with our friend Pradnya. Her meditations on being a mother. Laura Prepon, the actress and YouTube chef, talks about her new book and clay. But I want to read one of the social cues questions to Pradnya and get her sense. Okay. Coins, seriously? Why am I annoyed when friends pay to the penny for grocery items? During the pandemic, I've shopped for others who have no need to count pennies. If they owe me 17, 18, they give me 17 and 1 dime, 1 nickel, and 3 pennies. I always round up to the next dollar. It bothers me when others don't. What do you say?
I think everybody was raised a little bit differently, right? I don't think it's a judgment that anyone's making or trying to be parsimonious. I think if they're giving you to the penny, it's probably because that's what their parents taught them to do. So, it's not really a big deal in the larger scheme of things.
That is true. That this person was mad enough to write a letter to the New York Times and Philip Galland tells you something. Here's a beautiful photo, Louis Vuitton photographed in Myanmar, 1997. Scott Rogowski was the host of XHQ Trivia, which is a very popular show for a short time. And he streams a comedy show from his apartment now, Scott does. And look, weddings continue. This is amazing. What would your recommendation be to a family friend or a family member who's got a wedding, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, anything coming up? Postpone or just carry on?
Oh, carry on for sure. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting married and not about anybody else that is part of the festivities, right? And I think people are being clever these days about moving these events online, and that is not a pitch for Digimentors, although I guess it could be. But it's no, move forward for sure. Don't delay your joy.
Oh, I like that. Don't delay your joy. Like you're coming up with a bring your own weather to the picnic. That's going to be a memorable one. Don't delay your joy. I really like that. Can't find virtual love? Try hiring a virtual coach. And then look at this great illustration here. And we're going to shout out to our production team. Podcasts on relationships, ideal for quarantined ears. And you're seeing all of these folks here. The groom didn't show up in person. That is wow. So everyone that we've seen so far, the couple was together, even if someone was masked. But I've not seen this before. They decided really not to delay their joy. Look at that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's so many circumstances, right? I mean,
look at this ad for Chanel. Very apt on Mother's Day. I like it. Very, very beautiful. Book review is all about family issues, so please check that out. Real estate section, Metropolitan, and the Sunday review we like to flip through very quickly just to see. On the cover is the future of Christianity. Forget pancakes, pay women. I'm sorry I took you for granted. It is work. It is work. It is work, says Kim Brooks. This is really what happens. Hillary never married Bill. A novel hypothesizes a different history and future for a trailblazing woman. And there's a book that many people will be interested in. Is it safer to visit a coffee shop or a gym? Is the question here. Lost to Alzheimer's, then found again. In my mind, my mother, who was so subtly slipped away, sprang back to life. That's so nice. What we lose when we go from classroom to Zoom. Like other utopian dreams, the fiction of equality in the lecture hall has its value. Legalize all essential workers. Yes, that's the subject of my newsletter today. If you haven't subscribed, folks, please email me, Sree@Sree.net, and you'll get a Sunday newsletter where we opine about things, but we also point to some interesting things to read and understand. It's free. Please email me, Sree@Sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. We'd love to get your thoughts on my newsletter. We talk about this. If they're so essential, why were we calling them unskilled? If they're so essential, why do we call them, why do we not give them papers to work here? McDonald's workers in Denmark pity us. Wow, that's something. And Mr. Barr and the perversion of justice, really, the perfect person for Trump, which means, as he said, all the best people work for him. A twisted concept of liberty. Look at all these people. A notion of freedom deriving a lot of its power from racial hierarchy. And Adam Server has another piece, by the way, in The Atlantic, where he said, the pandemic was a crisis until Trump realized who's mostly dying. The elderly, the poor, African Americans, and he started caring less, and that's what you're seeing. Live and let die, Trump style. Who thought a bat would bring down the batty Trump? And here, we need to do more than honor our essential workers. That's my newsletter. Hey, Neil, thank you so much. I didn't expect that there. Nice surprise. And please, everybody subscribe, Sree@Sree.net. We produce this, my friend Zach and me. That's the photograph. He is showing you how they're opening up in the Czech Republic because they're listening and they're doing things. Here's that story where we show you what happens to workers and how they're being fired and let go. They're so essential. Let's keep going down. You will see also some of the other things we show you. In addition to that long piece, we have some data points. Share of essential workers who are women. Look at these numbers, so high. And then we give you something to read. And then we also give you something to watch. Here is something to watch, something to listen to. And we'd love for you to subscribe. And there's a plug for the New York Times Read Along. And then tonight, folks, there is a plug for the New York Times Positivity Show. And Zach, thank you for the work you do on this. And a reminder about my daily global COVID-19 show, now done with scroll.in, which means they have millions of followers and we are able to see them on the socials. Thank you, Neil, for showing us that. We really appreciate it. Email me if you're not on my newsletter, Sree@Sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. A Mother's Pandemic Fears by Mimi Schwartz, an executive editor at Texas Monthly. Joe Clemens Mirza says, hi, mommy. Oh, isn't that special? Look at that. And that's a great photo. Who is this guy, Joe?
That's my husband, Joe Clemens.
I hope so. No, tell us about him.
Oh, well, he is the world's greatest dad. I'm very lucky. For the last 6 years, as we were, having kids, raising kids, he's been a stay-at-home parent. He's been their primary caregiver, which is what allows me to be a raving workaholic. And I can't believe you're actually posting this picture. Yeah. So when I sent my bio in to Neil, I jokingly said that in addition to being the executive director of Magic Bus and a mom, that I'm a penguin and panda wrangler. My kids have chosen their spirit animals. That's Penny, the penguin there, that's been with my daughter since she was 3 months old. And that is Bebe, who, from the National Zoo here in DC, which is one of our favorite things. And there are piles, literally piles of penguins and pandas all over my house. All of them have names, and I'm expected to remember those names. And yeah, that's my life. I'm blessed. I mean, I can't say that enough. Everyone should have such problems having piles of penguins and pandas.
Yeah, well, that's amazing that you found these spirit animals, and what fun animals they are, and you're able to tell them apart, which is awesome, because that when I'm looking at them, they're not that easy to tell apart, but you know them well. And a salute to Joe and all fathers who are
That's
true
right.
partners of the mothers that make all of this possible. So let's go in and let's do a salute now to mothers, because we have all these great, as you know, Pradnya, we decided to run a kind of ad campaign partly for us to learn what works online.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, we work with clients. You're teaching people how to do philanthropy, and so we're trying to learn. So we are giving away our half our proceeds to Nick Kristof's charity.
So
and
amazing.
It's called the Nick Kristof C19 Impact Initiative. And so you can still get in on this. So we're going to do a Mother's Day promotion right now. And then tonight, you can also benefit from this, folks. We'll run these ads on the air at 9 p.m. Eastern. Join us, digimentors.link/mothers. Just type that in. It's a form. And look at these prices, so inexpensive, for a chance for you to have your message read around the world. And for your mom, it doesn't have to be your mother. It could be your mother, grandmother, aunt. Who came and left? We didn't.
Hey,
We
Mirza,
missed
come
her.
here. Come here.
So
Come here.
let's see if she'll come back.
This is Mirza.
Hi, Mirza. I was just
Okay, bye.
taking that card off. I saw her in the background.
Yeah, we would have taken that photo for you, but it was going too fast.
Oh no, you know what? She's been talking for hours about, well, I'm going to be on screen with you. But when it comes down to it, as you know, Neil, the shyness kicks in.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You never know what you're going to get. My daughter might come running into the room at any moment.
Yes.
She's, often she wakes up and she cuddles with mom in the morning, and sometimes she hesitantly walks in, and sometimes she jumps on. I had to read the poem one day as well.
Yes,
so
I remember.
That was fun.
But just so you guys know, every Sunday morning I'm on making my snarky comments, right? And my kids have become so familiar with the two of you that in our house now you're Sree uncle and Neil uncle.
Oh, that's great. As long as we don't become Neil Sree,
no.
Or Sree Neil, I don't know. As Sree
that's between the two of you. Let's not
We are running a great Mother's Day promotion this today, and as Sree mentioned, this is the description for folks. If you're still interested in joining, we will show your card at in the evening show on Sree's COVID-19 call. Please send it to us by 6 p.m. Eastern time, so we have time to get it ready. We were able to work some magic though today. So we're going to show some of the cards that we showed this morning, and two that came in during the show. So we'll start off with those. Want to wish a happy Mother's Day to Siala Kapanadze from her daughter Rusadan Vashakidze. And I apologize after the fact for mispronouncing the names, but I did do my best. Next time we may have to add phonetics as a field in the form, just in case. We do have another one that came in. Happy Mother's Day to Nicole Bolster from her daughter Deborah Kerr. Deborah, as you can see, we did get your submission during the show, and we were able to get it in. So thank you for that. The other, the ones that we had, Happy Mother's Day to Maria Dalballo from Christine, Michael, and all the kids. And Christine, if you're watching, I didn't have a chance to reply to your message that you sent late last night to make sure that we got it. Here it is. We did get it. Just to clarify one thing for folks, when you do fill out the form at digimentors.link/mothers, we will ask you how you intend to pay. It doesn't actually put the payment through. You do have to go to PayPal or Venmo to make the payment. But we are happy to take your card. And if we need to, we can always follow up with you later. We have a Happy Mother's Day to Molly Baranakis. May her memory be a blessing from her daughter, Carla Baranakis. For those who may be wondering, if you saw the cards earlier, for the moms who are no longer with us, and for the ones that I was able to confirm before the show, that phrasing is something that I take from the Jewish tradition.
Amazing.
Honoring people who have passed, and that's something I always do with any reference. And so I want to make sure people understood that as well. Our good friend Paula Kiger submitted one as well for her mom. Happy Mother's Day to Letha Rucker, and I did confirm during the show it's Letha Rucker. May her memory be a blessing as well. We have another one from Carla Baranakis. Happy Mother's Day to her sister-in-law, Carol Baranakis. I'm sure that that is, and if she's a sister-in-law, I guess Carla must have married into the family, I'm guessing, or you know how the sister-in-law worked, but to have a Carla and a Carol, I'm sure is cause for much fun and confusion. We have one from our very good friend, Renee Edelman. Happy Mother's Day to Ruth Edelman. Again, may her memory be a blessing. And what a great photo. I think it was Stefan made a comment earlier in the show. What a stunning photograph of Renee's mother, Ruth. So thank you, Renee.
I just wanted to read the comment that Renee put in. She said, "To my darling mother, Ruth, your wisdom and courage and generosity of spirit inspire me daily." And that's just a great comment. And this was taken by a terrific fashion photographer. And that's this picture taken in 1992 of her mother, Ruth Edelman. I had a chance to meet Ruth because she and her children built the Daniel Edelman Plaza at Columbia Journalism School. And so to spend time with Ruth was indeed a blessing.
Absolutely. And we're adding a little bit of additional background. So I'll go back to Carla's. Carol Baranakis is seen with her son, Brett. Carol married into the family is Carla's clarification, and that's her comment on the screen. And then going back to the picture of Carla's mom, Carla wanted to say that her mother always said to hold on to your purse, and here she is holding on to her purse in the middle of the ocean. So definitely keeping that memory alive. Also want to, as we're doing this, and take a quick break, because I want to share Leica Srinivasan's mom. Said Mirza was such a sweet child. And Aparna loved Mirza's cameo, so I didn't want to let those comments go. And not sure about this comment from Stephen Kaplan. Sree Neal, the NYT read-along bromance continues. I'm not sure if it rises to a level of bromance, Stefan, but we can discuss afterwards. And we had several other adorable...
Neil, if you guys can't see it, the rest of us do.
Rose and Marilyn were saying so lovely and adorable. I believe that was in reference to Mirza. I don't believe that was in reference to the bromance, but we will clarify that when we have a chance. We do have a few other cards to show. We have, I think we left off here. Again, happy Mother's Day to Sue Ann Bohem from her sister, Carla Baranakis. That's Sue Ann on the left. And this was the one that we were able to surprise Paula with. Tenley sent in a happy Mother's Day to Paula Kiger from Wayne Tenley and Wayne Kevin. I'm going to share two ones. I think there's another one that Sree wants to share. So let's go to Shree's camera and see what Sree is trying to show us.
So this is from our dear friend Mitra Kalida. This is Happy Mother's Day from her family. That's Nitin on the right, Naya on the left, and Ria in the middle there. And Mitra and Nitin are the godparents of our kids, Durga and Krishna. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to give them a shout out and give her a shout out. She's a great mother and a great godmother as well. I also wanted to show you Elizabeth Bernstein giving a shout out to her mom. And look at this picture of her with her mother. Elizabeth Bernstein was a guest on our daily program, and she did an amazing show about relationships and dating under the age of COVID. You can find all of this, folks, on my YouTube channel. Please find that. I also wanted to show this picture of my sister-in-law. This is Deepa Menon in California. I have two sisters-in-law named Deepa. So how confusing is that? Both are named Deepa Menon. This is from her son, who is sharing these pictures of his mother. And I just love these pictures. That was him as a baby. And now look at him. He's an amazing basketball player. Not easy for an Indian American kid to grow up to be a D1 recruit in basketball. But a lot of that is the love from her mother. So very happy Mother's Day to Deepa. We have, as I said, another Deepa in our family. And this is Dr. Deepa Menon, who has been a guest on the Read Along. And she's in Baltimore. And that's from her son, Hari Menon. And happy Mother's Day to Deepa. So to both the Deepas in our lives. And then we also want to do a shout out to Rupa's mom. Right here, you can see her with Rupa and the grandkids. And happy Mother's Day to Jayashree Onikrishnan. We already called you this morning. Amma, great to see you here. And then I do want to make sure that we show the comments that my kids wrote to Rupa. I'm just going to read these out. It says, "Dear Mom, happy Mother's Day. The family won't survive one day without you. We don't always show how much we love you, but we appreciate you and all your love more than anything else. We hope this day is extra special for you, and maybe you can relax for the first time in what seems like forever. You're by far the hardest working person out there. Please take a rest today. Love you so much, Mama. We will love you forever and ever, Durga and Krishna." So those are the greetings. Again, a big shout out to my mom. There she is, Lekha Srinivasan in Tokyo in 1970. I turned 50 years this October. And she wanted a girl. And so I'm dressed somewhat like a girl in some of my childhood pictures. But these were when I was learning to walk. And I love you, Amma, for everything you've done for me and for our family. Love you, love you, love you so much. And big greetings from my brother also, Srikant. And we love you. We said earlier, Neil and Pradnya, that there might be some confusion with a Carol and a Carla in the same family. How about a family where there are two men named Srinath and a brother named Srikant, and two Deepa Menons in the same family? So that's Indian names for you. Because we're a billion people, we run out of names very fast. I think that could be the only explanation.
And Sree, I'll close out our tributes. This is a Mother's Day shout out to my mom, Sudha Tolia Parekh. That's me in the center of the picture. And that's from many, many, many years ago. What I'd like to do is to close out, I'll say leaving the best for last. It's a happy Mother's Day to my wife, Pam Stumpo, from Neil Parekh and Emily. As everyone knows, as Sree knows, we couldn't do the work that we're doing without the support of our wives, the mother of our children. Every Sunday morning, Emily's a little younger, obviously, than Durga and Krishna, and Pam has to mind her and watch her and spend time with her and keep her occupied until I'm done with the show. Sometimes we finish at 10:30, sometimes we go a little bit longer. But I want to thank Pam for all of the support she's given, and let her know that I did as many of the dishes as I could last night. I couldn't get to all of them. I will get the rest of them done after the show, I promise. With that, Sree, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would like to just say to
Did you do the dishes, Sree?
Thank you for. No, I had to do multiple things to get ready for today, and one of them is to just say to Rupa, thank you for being who you are and for inspiring all of us. We were joking around, what if she had been stuck in India as she was supposed to travel, or in Korea or something, and couldn't get back in? The 3 kids and our dog would be in deep, deep trouble without Rupa. And my mom is remembering my grandmother, Vanaja and I always used to say we should need help. We need to help needy people. I teach my children the same. Absolutely. I get my interest in charity work and nonprofit work from my mom, who's done so much, including building Karuna Charities, a worldwide organization that she built with just her energy and her friendships all around the world. Neil, I also want to point out that that photograph of you have the same hairstyle you did when you were a tiny kid, even today.
Thank you, Sree. I can't say the same for you, though. Your hair is a little bit different than what it was when you were a kid. Yeah, just a little different. I do want to make sure that we remind people that...
Let's take a look at New York City as we get together. Folks, doing this one more time. We're doing this tonight again, folks. We're going to be doing the money. Half the money raised from this goes to Nick Kristof's C19 Impact Initiative. So please support us. Let's do a shout out to mothers again tonight. The same set of greetings will go out again tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern in that hour. So please join us then. We have a fabulous guest in Christina Deo. I want to give a shout out to Vandana Menon and Rose Horowitz, the producers of that show, who do a great job every single day. 60 days in a row we've been doing that show. And so please join us. We want to support the work of Nick Kristof and also support the moms in your life. So if you would like to get an ad in, please go to digimentors.link/mothers, or just email me, sree@sree.net. And if you have trouble giving me money in any other way, you can always Venmo or PayPal me the money, sree@sree.net, SREE@SREE.net, or you can Venmo it, SreeNet, SREENET. In fact, that's a good idea. Any day of the year, you want to Venmo me a bunch of money. We're always happy to take your money. But more seriously, a reminder also that my team is doing incredible virtual events around the world, including an event for 50,000 teachers, a conference we're putting together. We're going to learn more about that in the weeks ahead. So please stay tuned. Please email me, Sree@Sree.net, if you would like to get information about how we can help you. Don't cancel your conference. Don't postpone. Get in touch. We will help you. We can be 10% of your team or 110% of your team. So with that, Neil, we'll do a shout out to our sponsors. Let's let Pradnya go.
Absolutely.
Pradnya,
thank
you and go.
For joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. And just as a reminder for folks, if you are interested in the Mother's Day promotion for this evening, when you go to the link that Paula and Steve have shared on the screen, when you click whether or not you're paying by Venmo or PayPal, you actually have to go to PayPal and Venmo and make the payment. It doesn't go automatically through the form that we've set up. So just as a reminder for folks. We would like to give another shout out to our sponsors as we close the show this week. Of course, we usually have a doctor come on the show at the 10 o'clock for a half an hour or so. We want to spend more of the time on Mother's Day and share Nick Kristof's website. But we do want to thank our sponsors as well. So give me a moment And we also want to make sure we share the links to their pages. So please take a moment and visit our sponsors. Their websites are on the screen. You can go to readalong.link/strategy focus group, readalong.link/muckrack. So again, thank you to our sponsors and the great work that they do. Strategy Focus Group is a global team of human capital strategists committed to helping organizations solve people issues within your organization. They do that by working alongside you to solve your toughest problems and helping you capture your greatest opportunities. Muckrack helps you discover news as it breaks, easily generate reports, and explore the work of journalists, podcasters, bloggers, and more. Muckrack software helps PR teams build stronger relationships with the media. And if you're a journalist, you might also be eligible for their free tools to identify trends and showcase your work. Thank you to Ron Thomas of Strategy Focus Group, Greg Gallant, and Mike Schneider from Muckrack for your support of the New York Times Read Along. And again, if you're interested in being a sponsor of the New York Times Read Along, please feel free to email me, neil@neilparekh.org, or you can, of course, email Sree at sree@sree.net.
Wow, great day. A beautiful day in New York City. And we hope wherever you are, if you're with your mother, you're so lucky. If you're thinking of your mom, whether she's with us or not, may all us who are so blessed to have mothers in our lives be grateful to them for everything they've done for us. And a shout out to all aunts, grandmas, godmothers, everybody who supports the people in their lives and makes everything possible. So thank you to all of you for joining us. Renee says Happy Mother's Day to Rose Horowitz. That's great. Stefan says another very special and epic New York Times read along. We love having you all here. And Rose says for tonight's COVID-19 show, we have an 8-time Emmy Award winning producer who's worked on Martha Stewart's show, Rosie O'Donnell. So she'll be with us. Christina Bayo will be with us, and we're very excited to have her. Willie Henderson, Sree still looks cute. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. And Willie's watching from Pakistan. And just great to have Willie with us. And Sylvie says, great show. Ethan, Keaton, Praveen, and I are all really enjoyed it. Thank you, Neil and Sree. Thank you, Sylvie. You are part of the Haldipur family, and we love that. And thank you so much for being here with us. And just great to have everybody here. Please email me, send us feedbacks. We're looking for guest ideas, theme ideas, speaker ideas, and of course, sponsorship ideas, collaboration ideas. We have lots of great guests coming in the next few weeks. So please stay tuned for that. And please email me so that you can be on my newsletter. And also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sreenet, SREENET. You'll know when our daily programs are, as well as our other programs. And by the way, if you didn't see it, Linda Bernstein, who's a great mother on our team, Linda interviewed 2 of the world's greatest Shakespearean scholars on Friday's show. And we went to Oxford and Warwick to interview 2 great professors. And we got to talk about Shakespeare and pandemics, which is really great. And Jonathan Borstein says, highly entertaining show. Neil, we got to have Jonathan on one of our shows these days. He's just an incredible friend of us. As is Mark Lee, watching from Durham, North Carolina. So thank you so much, everybody. Let's get back to our families, and thank you everybody for watching. He's Neil Parekh, neil@neilparekh.org, Neil@neilparekh on Twitter. I'm Sree @SREE on Twitter. Thank you so much. Mark says you folks rocked again. Tonight, don't miss Positivity, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to do a shout out to a mother in your life, email me. We'll make it happen. Between now and 6 o'clock, let us know. We need a couple of hours to do those cards. That's it. There you go. Digimentors.link/mothers. We'll leave that open for you to maybe take a picture, take a screenshot, whatever. Just email me, Sree@sree.net. There's the link, digimentors.link/mothers. And a big shout out to the moms in our lives, including my mother and Sudha Parekh, who is Neil's mom, and to our wives, Rupa Unikrishnan and Pam Stumpo. Thank you so much. And we'll leave this card on for you to take a screenshot, and the video will start right after we're done. It'll replay all over again. See you next Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And then tonight, 9 p.m. if you're ready for some more positivity.